institutional correction continuation. Corrections. So, correction means the branch of the administration of criminal justice charged with the responsibility for the custody, supervision, and rehabilitation of convicted offenders. So, take note, yung mga nasa penal facilities or nasa correctional facilities are all convicted offenders. Okay? So, pag nasa prison, convicted offenders yan. The fourth pillar of criminal justice system, as considered as the weakest pillar of criminal justice system. Why it is considered as the weakest pillar? Or dun man tayo, the fourth pillar. Bakit siya fourth pillar? Siyempre, ang first pillar nyo, ilan ba ang pillar ng CJS or criminal justice system? We have 5 pillars. First pillar is the law enforcement pillar. Andyan yung police nyo at other law enforcement agencies. Next, we have your prosecution pillars. So, prosecution pillars is the one who is the arbiter of justice of the country. Next, we have your court, which is the heart of the pillar. And then we have your fourth pillar is the correction pillar. And lastly, we have your community. So, why it is considered as the weakest pillar of the CJS? Because the reason why it called weakest pillar of the criminal justice system is the failure to rehabilitate or the failure to reform a convicted offender into a normal person and transfer it back to the society. Why? Kasi yung ibang kriminal, paglabas nila, paglayan nila, nagkakaroon ng tendency na nababalik uli sila sa kulungan. There are so many reasons. That's why we have habitual delinquent or recidivists. 2 forms of corrections. We have your institutionalized correction and we have your community-based correction. This is already discussed in the first video. Again, as I recall, the rehabilitation of offender in jail or prison is institutionalized correction. They are inside prison. While community-based correction refers to correctional activities that may take place within the community or out of jail or prison. So, nasa labas, nasa community sila. Hence, provided with a authorized person who will titingin sa kanila or who will take charge to them na magmo-monitor or who will monitor to them. Next, we have purposes of confinement. Why do we need to confine those offenders? First, you have to segregate offenders from society. Why? Kasi to rehabilitate him or them so that upon his return to the society, he shall be responsible and law-abiding citizen. So, kailangan daw natin isegregate sila. Bakit? Yung utilitarianism, di ba? The greatest happiness is the greatest number of people. So, for the society to feel safe and safer. Next, pagka hindi mo naman sila papabayaan pag sinegregate mo sila. Hence, you will rehabilitate them for them to be able to become a law-abiding citizen bago sila lumabas uli sa penal facility. Pero, sabi ko nga sa inyo, considered as the weakest pillar of the CJS because of the failure to rehabilitate completely the convicted offender and turn it back to the society. So, mahaba-haba pa tayo siguro tayo dyan. Next, 2 legal grounds for detaining a person. First is the commission of crime. Of course, kung gumawa siya ng masama, yan, commission of a crime. May ginawa siyang crime. Second is violent insanity or any other ailment that needs compulsory confinement in a hospital. Yung mga mental facilities. So, yan. Person commit a crime and a person who is insane. So, they need to confine. Okay, paano naman kung normal person ka, hindi ka rin commit ng crime, tapos ikaw ay kinulong. So, yung nagkulong sa'yo is now liable into a crime of arbitrary detention or illegal detention. Depende kung sino yung offender. Right? Admission procedures in prison. So, first, we have receiving. We have checking commitment papers, establishing identity of a prisoner. We have searching the prisoners and assignment to quarter. So this will further discuss on the following slides. So at least the admission procedure, alam nyo, syempre i-receive. Pangalawa, check yung commitment papers or the mitimus. Next is the establishing identity of the prisoners, yung kanyang identity given by the court. Next is searching the prisoners. So isa-search siya, buo from head to toe. And then assignment to quarter. Ganyan na lang ba agad? Hindi pa. Ito, he will undergo quarantine unit or cell. What is this? It is a unit or cell in the prison or a jail or a section of the RDC. RDC means Reception and Diagnostic Center, where the prisoners are given thorough physical examination including blood tests, x-rays, inoculation, and vaccination. What is the purpose of undergoing quarantine unit? First, to ensure that the new prisoner is not suffering from any contagious diseases which might be transferred to other prisoners, especially nowadays we have the COVID-19 pandemic or COVID-19 disease. Yan. Pre-release treatment. So it is the program is specifically designed and given to a prisoner during a limited period prior to his release, in order to give him an opportunity to adjust himself from the regimented group like in prison to the normal independent life of a free individual. So lahat to further mai-discuss ng broad on the following slides. So institutional custody, security, and control. Aims of institutional security is to prevent escape. Second is to control entry of contrabands. Anything that is prohibited inside the facility or correctional facility is called contrabands. So kung yung yosi dito sa labas or the cigarillo or the cigarette is hindi bawal, pagdating sa loob, bawal siya, it will call contraband. Kung dito sa labas ang cellphone ay hindi bawal, pero sa correctional facility, bawal ang cellphone, lalo na paghawak ng inmates, at yon ay considered as contraband. Next, we have to maintain of good order. Syempre, bawal ang maging magulo doon. So, kailangan maintenance of good order. Next, custody. Alright, the definition of custody and control. Custody means as the guarding of penal safekeeping. It involves security measures, locking and counting routines, produced for searching prisoners and their living quarters, and prevention of contraband. That is custody. While control, it is involves supervision of prisoners to ensure punctual and orderly movement to and from the dormitories, place of work, church, hospital, and recreational facility in accordance with the daily schedule. That is your custody and that is your control. Next, contraband. Anything that is contrary to prison rules and regulation. That is contraband. Prison discipline. It is the continuing state of good order and behavior in prison. It includes the maintenance of good standard of work, sanitation, safety, education, personal health, and recreation. So, discipline. And continuing state of good order. That is discipline. Prevention discipline involves prompt correction of minor deviations before they become serious violations, which may be dealt with a reprimand or warning and is used when the deviation is trivial due to ignorance or lack of understanding or the result of careless or fault habit. That is prevention discipline. So, wina-warningan na yung mga ating mga prisoners. Next, you have your diversification. It is an administrative device of correctional institution of providing varied and flexible type of physical plans for the effective control of the treatment program of each diversified population. Hinahati. Okay, that is diversification. For example, you are on the RDC or the Reception and Diagnostic Center. So, you will undergo by series of tests and habang nag-i-stay ka doon. Ngayon, tinitignan doon what would be your classification under security as well as your classification of treatment. So, that is diversification. That is classification. And then you will go under diversification. Yung diversification naman, this is the flexible type of physical plan for the effective control of the treatment program of its diversified population. Now, diversification may be done either this one, by a building special institution for the different class of prisoners, which is more desirable since it provides proper segregation of group and more effective execution of their treatment program. Ayun nga, diversification. Ihiwalay yung mga maximum prisoners sa minimum prisoners at sa medium prisoners. Diversification. And then, this person need this type of treatment or rehabilitation for drug addicts, and while the other person needs this kind of treatment or rehabilitation, so we will diversify them. We will classify them into their needs. Next, providing separate facilities within a single institution itself. That is, big institution may be broken into smaller units. Factors considered in diversification: we have age, we have sex, we have medical or mental condition, we have degree of custody. The most common use factor in diversification is your degree of custody. So, minor, hinihiwalay. Female, hinihiwalay din. Age, of course. Medical or mental condition, hinihiwalay. The degree of custody, my dear student, is the classification which is maximum, medium, and minimum. That is the degree of custody. Commonly, that is the most convenient to use here in the Philippines. Okay? Hinihiwalay ang mga maximum prisoners sa minimum prisoners at sa medium prisoners. Anong rationale nila dito? Para hindi ma-impluwensyahan ng mga maximum prisoners yung mga minimum prisoners or medium prisoners, kasi itong mga maximum, mga solid na itong mga to talagang criminal in nature na yung kanilang ginagawa, pumapatay, ganyan. Reception and Diagnostic Center, or the RDC. This is a special unit of prison where new prisoners undergo diagnostic examination, study and observation for determining the program of treatment and training best suited to their needs and their institution to which they should be transferred. RDC staff. So, iisa-isayin natin yan lahat mamaya, but these are the RDC staff, or the Reception and Diagnostic Center staffs. They have psychiatrists, they have psychologists, they have sociologists, educational counselor, vocational counselor, they have chaplain, pare, yan, medical officer, custodial correction, or custodial correctional. The classification process. So, the assignment, classification means the assignment or grouping of inmates according to their sentence, gender, age, nationality, health, criminal record, and dangerous, and etc. Okay, for separate but coordinated procedures of classification, we have diagnosis. Number 1, the prisoner's case history is taken and his personality studied. Through examination and observation, the RDC staff determines the nature and extent of the person criminally and the extent to which he may be rehabilitated. That is the diagnosis. Number 2, treatment planning. This is the formulation of a tentative treatment program best suited to the need and interest of an individual prisoner based on the findings of the RDC staff. That is the treatment planning. Next, we have your execution of treatment program. This is the application of the treatment program and policies by the classification committee. And lastly, number 4, we have your reclassification. The treatment program is kept current with the inmates' changing needs and with new analysis based on the information not available at the time of the initial classification. Committee meeting of the inmate cases or inmate's case, which continue from the time of the first classification until the inmates is released. So, if the inmates has already been classified, and then he will be reclassified because the information being provided before is insufficient or kulang. Nung nakompleto na, ito pala yung kailangan na treatment ng isang prisoner. So, ililipat siya. That is reclassification. Okay? So, balikan natin. First, ida-diagnose anong kailangan. Ngayon, pag-iisipan kung ano dapat ibigay, treatment planning, and then i-execute. Okay? Pag nagkamali or naging available na yung full information about the prisoners, he may undergo reclassification if ibang treatment yung naibigay. Now, let's go to the juridical condition of penalty. Punishment must be productive of suffering, commensurate with the offense, and personal. What is this productive of suffering? So, dapat pagbayaran niya kasi ginawa niya yung masama. Next, commensurate with the offense. Kailangan tama lang, proper lang yung, commensurate with the offense is kailangan, for example, a person just nagnakaw lang yung tao, okay, and then his punishment is 3 years. So, dapat 3 years lang yung maibigay sa kanya. That is commensurate with the offense. Paano kung nagnakaw yung tao tapos 20 years mong ikukulong or 50 years mong or 40 years mong ikukulong? Oh, that is not commensurate with the offense. It should be commensurate with the offense. So, kung pumatay, it should be reclusion perpetua. It is 20 years and 1 day to 40 years or life imprisonment. That is, kung homicide, hindi mo pwedeng 40 years or life imprisonment. Kailangan mas mababa lang. That should be commensurate with the offense. Personal, it is a vengeance. Next, legal, it is consequences of judgment according to law. Yan, equal for all person. Kailangan pantay-pantay kahit pa gaano kataas na tao. It should be certain also. No one must escape its effect. So, certain kasi yung equal and certain, ganito yan. Equal for all person. While certain, no one must escape its effect. So, kailangan pagsilbihan mo talaga yon. Okay? Now, correctional. It should be directed towards rehabilitation. Yan. So, this is the duration of penalties. First, you have your death penalty. That is capital punishment. Second, we have your reclusion perpetua, a term of 20 years to 40 years imprisonment. Reclusion temporal is 12 years and 1 day to 20 years. Prison mayor is 6 years and 1 day to 12 years. Prison correctional is 6 months and 1 day to 6 years. Arresto mayor is 1 month and 1 day to 6 months. While arresto menor is 1 day to 30 years. And lastly, you have bond to keep the peace. This is a discretionary on the part of the court. Okay? And you have also distiero. That is the 25 kilometers minimum radius that you are bond into a certain area. Next, the Philippine Correctional System. So ito, early prison in the Philippines. The formal prison system in the Philippines started only during the Spanish regime nung sinakop tayo ng Spaniards. Okay? Pre-Spanish period. This one is the Old Bilibid Prison, was constructed as the main penitentiary in Oriqueta Street, Manila, and designed to house the prison population of the country. Okay? The Old Bilibid Prison, then known as Cárcel y Presidio, on June 25, 1865. Correctional, Spanish Correctional, Jail, and Military Prison. This is known as the Cárcel y Presidio Correccional. In Spanish, Correctional, Jail, or Spanish. In English, that is Correctional, Jail, and Military Prison. Okay, occupied a rectangular piece of land which was part of the Mayhelique Estate in the heart of Manila, was formally opened or established Old Bilibid Prison. Now, in 1936, the city of Manila exchanged its Muntinlupa property with the Bureau of Prison, originally intended as a site for boys training school. Today, the Old Bilibid Prison is now being used as the Manila City Jail. Okay? It is now the Manila City Jail, famous as the Mayhelique Estate. In 1941, the new facility was officially named the New Bilibid Prison. Ito na yung nasa Muntinlupa. Okay, lumipat sila. While the Old Bilibid Prison is now being used as the Manila City Jail. Okay. And it is famous as the May Halike Estate. Okay. In 1941, we have the New Bilibid Prison. Now, the Philippine Correctional Setup, Department of Justice. Under this are the Bureau of Correction, the Parole and Probation Administration, and the BPP or the Board and Pardons and Parole. Paano to? Bureau of Corrections, all the penal facility in the Philippine Island, including the New Bilibid Prison and the Correctional Institution for Women. Okay? That is under Bureau of Correction, which is under Department of Justice. Okay? The Parole and Probation Administration and the the Board of Pardon and Parole, okay, are the implementing arm. The implementing arm is the Parole and Probation Administration, while the body of it is the Board of Pardon and Parole. Okay, these people or these organization are all under Department of Justice. Okay, they are not under DILG, so they are under Department of Justice. Your Bureau of Correction, your Parole and Probation Administration, the Board of Pardon and Parole are under Department of Justice. Okay, they are not under DILG. That's why your BJMP officer and your correctional officer are different. Okay? Are different in some terms. But they are all both safekeeping, but they have different terms. Okay? Under this is the BJMP. Under this is the BJMP, which runs the city, municipal, and district jail and provincial jails through their respective provincial government. Bureau of Jail Management and Penology is under DILG. Okay? While your Bureau of Correction is under Department of Justice. Your BJMP is under DILG. Ulit-ulit. Which runs the city, municipal, and district jails, and provincial jails through their respective provincial government. Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, they run the jails, while Department of Justice runs correctional facilities or penal facilities. Okay? Pag sinabing jails, those jails are BJMP is the one in charge in the jails of municipality, city, or provincial jails, while Department of Justice is the one responsible with the penal facility or correctional facility. Okay? That's clear. Okay, magkaiba yun ha. Once jail, they are under BJMP. BJMP is under DILG. Penal facility, under Bureau of Correction. And Bureau of Correction is under Department of Justice. Yan. Department of Social Welfare and Development. So number 3 tayo. Under this is the takes care of the sentenced youth offender. Okay? Which are located in the 10 region youth rehabilitation centers nationwide. Bureau of Corrections. Bureau of Prison was renamed Bureau of Correction under Executive Order 292 passed during the Aquino administration. It is headed by a director appointed by the President of the Philippines. Aquino after Marcos. Okay? So, dalawa na kasing Aquino ngayon, di ba? So, that is Cory Aquino, the late President Cory Aquino is the one that is president during this time. Okay? It's now called Bureau of Correction. Formerly, on Marcos era, that is Bureau of Prison. Okay? Executive Order 292, otherwise known as the Revised Administrative Code of 1987. Sections 1705 to 1751, RAC of 1987, the prison law in the Philippines. Okay, it is renamed the Bureau of Prison to Bureau of Correction. Now, the Bureau of Corrections or the Bucor or the BC, Filipino Kawanihan ng Koreksyon, is an agency of the DOJ or Department of Justice which is charged with the custody and rehabilitation of national offenders. Okay? The agency has its headquarters in the New Bilibid Prison Reservation in Muntinlupa. Okay, in Muntinlupa. Once you are sentenced 3 years above, you will then put into a correctional facility that is 3 years above. Okay? Now, New Bilibid Prison. Operating units of the Bureau of Correction located nationwide. Okay, that is New Bilibid Prison. New Bilibid Prison is in Muntinlupa City. The NBP with a land area of 552 hectares was established due to the increased rates of prisoners. The New Bilibid Prison houses maximum security convicts, including the death row, the electric chair chamber when it was still in use, and now the lethal injection chamber. It is considered as one of the biggest prisons in the world in terms of the number of prisoners population. The central office of the Bureau of Correction are also houses there. Okay? Yung central office ng Bucor are also houses there. Pero mag-a-apply kayo na gusto nyo maging correctional officer doon. Okay? 2 satellite camps of the New Bilibid Prison. First, we have your Camp Sampaguita, which is houses medium security, and it is where the RDC is located as well. And you have Camp Bukang Liwayway, we have the minimum security. Okay? So, mas maluwag ang Camp Bukang Liwayway. Okay, parang ganito lang yan. Camp Bukang Liwayway, bumubuka na yung pintuan papalabas. Okay? Because they are under minimum security. Okay? Sampaguita is medium security. Okay, Correctional Institution for Women. The CIW, founded in Mandaluyong City. It was established in 1931 by virtue of Act 3579 passed on November 27, 1929. Consists of 18 hectares. It is the one and only prison for women in the Philippines. So, dyan naman nilalagay ang mga babae. Okay? Dito kasi puro lalaki lang. Dito naman mga babae lang. Now, penal colonies in the Philippines. Siyempre, ito pa. We have San Ramon Prison and Penal Farm, founded by Captain Ramon Blanco of the Spanish Royal Army. It was established for the confinement of Muslim and political offenders, formerly located in Zamboanga City. Established on August 21, 1869. But now, the oldest correctional facility, this is the oldest correctional facility in the country. Has an area of 1,246 hectares with the principal product of copra. So, nagtatanim sila ng copra doon. Okay? Formerly, it was an establishment or it was established for the confinement of Muslim and political offenders. Formerly. Pero ngayon, hindi na. Okay? It is for all. Yan. Para principal product, copra. Iwahig Prison and Penal Farm. Former Luhit Penal Settlement. It was called formerly Luhit Penal Settlement. It was from this facility that the term prison without walls had its beginning. Established on the order of Governor Forbes, who was then the Secretary of Commerce and Police. It has a land of total of 36,000 hectares. Established on November 16, 1904. So this one, Iwahig Prison and Penal Farm, is the penal facility that is called prison without walls. Kasi this is a 36,000 land hectares, okay? And it was napapalibutan to ng tubig. Isa tong island Iwahig Prison and Penal Farm. Okay? So, nga naman kung ganyan kalaki, 36,000 hectares. Kailangan pa bang bakudan yan? Hindi na, diba? Now, it was used originally from the confinement of incorrigible and intractable prisoners. In 1905, it was reconverted for the confinement of well-behaved and tractable prisoners na. They have tagumpay settlement here at Iwahig Prison and Penal Farm, owning to its vast lands holding allocated 1,000 hectares which were distributed to release inmates who wants to settle for good in Palawan. So pag nakulong yung inmates, pag nakulong yung prisoner dito, paglalaya na siya, if you want to settle in Palawan as well, inside this correctional facility, they can acquire 1,000 hectares were distributed to they can acquire a piece of land in Tagumpay settlement. Okay, this Tagumpay settlement is a 1,000 hectares which were distributed to release inmates who wants to settle for good in Palawan. Okay, in Palawan. So there is a 1,000 hectares out of 36,000 hectares na ginawang relocation area for those who want to settle for good in Palawan, those who are already released convicts. Now, each released prisoners awardees is given a 6 hectares farm lot as homestead. Okay? For sub-colonies of Iwahig Penal Colony, they have 4. We have Inagawan sub-colonies, we have Montebol sub-colonies, we have Santa Lucia sub-colony, and we have Central sub-colony. So, 36,000 hectares. At tanggalin mo ni 1,000. 35,000 hectares divided by this 4. So, hindi siya ganun Inagawan, maybe 50% of all. But it is a sub-colonies of Iwahig Penal Colony. So, ito yung makikita nyo doon na 4. We have Inagawan is the Inagawan sub-colony, Montebol, and then we have Santa Lucia, and we have Central sub-colony. Tagumpay settlement is a 1,000 hectares which were distributed to release inmates. Okay? Davao Prison and Penal Farm, founded by General Paulino Santos, created by virtue of Act 3732 and Proclamation 414, Series of 1931, formerly known as the Davao Penal Colony. The Davao Prison and Penal Farm was built on January 21, 1932, located in Santo Tomas, Davao del Norte. Mostly devoted to abaca and banana plantation, are the product of Davao Prison and Penal Farm. While we have the San Ramon Prison and Penal Farm is the principal product is copra, while your Davao Prison and Penal Farm is banana plantation as well as abaca. Okay? In 1942, it was used as a concentration camp for American prisoners of war. It is the main source of income of the Bureau of Correction. It consists of 18,000 hectares. Now, we have Sablayan Prison and Penal Farm, founded on September 27, 1954 by virtue of Proclamation Number 72, dated September 27, 1954. It consists of 16,190 hectares of Sablayan Occidental Mindoro. Okay? Sablayan Prison and Penal Farm, one of the prisons nearest to Metro Manila. Okay? The penal colony is designed for minimum security prisoners. Primary product is rice that is used also to supply the New Bilibid prison. Okay? That is the primary product is rice. And it is designed to house minimum security prisoners. Okay, yung mga maximum, my dear student, is nasa New Bilibid prison. Leyte Regional Prison or the Abuyog on Abuyog Leyte at Abuyog Leyte. Okay? On Abuyog Leyte. Alright. Tama. Ito yung address niya. Abuyog Leyte. Established on January 16, 1973 under Proclamation 1101 during the martial law with the aim of regionalizing prisons in the country. Okay, the last penal facility to be built by the Bureau of Prison, and then they become Bureau of Correction. Prison. Okay, an institution for the imprisonment of person convicted by final judgment and within a penalty of more than 3 years. Okay, pag more than 3 years, paano i-interpret yan? 3 years sakto, hindi kasama. Okay, they will go for BJMP. But if they are more than 3 years, 3 years and 1 day and more, okay, 3 years and 1 day or more than 3 years, mas marami sa 3 years, they will go to prison. Note, all inmates here are convicted. Note also, the population of jail and prison includes penal farm and colonies, except the personnel are called inmates or prisoners. Okay, with the exception of jails whose inmates are undergoing trial of their respective cases are called detainees. In in correctional facility, all person under correctional facility are called inmates or prisoners. While except those personnel, of course, na nagtatrabaho doon, they are correctional officers. While those person who are in jails whose inmates are undergoing trial, they are called detainees pa lang, unless they are now convicted offender, okay, are called detainees. Who is a prisoner? Is any person confined in jail or prison for the commission of a criminal offense or convicted and serving in a penal institution. That is a prisoner. Okay, that is a prisoner. Prisoner is any person convicted in jail or prison for a commission of a criminal offense or convicted and serving in a penal institution. Those are prisoners. Prisoners, also a person committed to jail or prison by a competent authority for any of the following reason: to serve a sentence after conviction, it is awaiting trial, it is under investigation, as well as defined as prisoners. Okay? Pero ngayon, those who are awaiting trial or investigation, they are detainees. Detainees. Okay? General classification of prisoners. We have sentenced prisoners, those who are convicted by final judgment of the crime charged against them. They are under the jurisdiction of penal institution. We have detention prisoners, those who were detained for the violation of law or ordinances and has not yet been convicted. Okay? Those who are on safekeeping includes non-criminal offenders who are detained in order to protect the community against their harmful behavior. Those who are in mental facility or mental hospitals. Safekeeping is the temporary custody of a person or the detention of a person for his own protection or care to secure him from liability, harm, injury, or danger. Yung mga nagbabiolate ng ng ating curfew hour, yan, they can also fall under safekeeping as well. Classification of sentenced prisoners. We have insular or national prisoners, those who were sentenced to serve a prison term of over 3 years or more than 3 years, or to pay a fine of more than 1,000 pesos or both fine and imprisonment. Insular or national prisoners, those sentenced to suffer a term of over 3 years in prison but appealed the judgment and unable to file a bond for their temporary liberty as well. Next, we have your city prisoners, those who were sentenced to suffer an imprisonment of less than 3 years or to pay a fine of not more than 1,000 pesos or both. City prisoners includes those who were detained whose cases were filed with the municipal trial court and those whose cases are cognizable by the regional trial court and under preliminary investigation. That is city prisoners. Provincial prisoners, those sentenced to suffer a term of imprisonment from 6 months and 1 day to 3 years or a fine not more than 1,000 pesos or both. That is a provincial prisoners. Anong pagkakaiba ng provincial prisoners sa city prisoners? Ito pa, mamaya. Those detained while waiting for preliminary investigation of their cases cognizable by the RTC. Same sila ng city prisoners. Ngayon, pagkakaiba nila is those who were sentenced to suffer an imprisonment of less than 3 years. That is city prisoner. While provincial prisoner is a term of imprisonment from 6 months and 1 day to 3 years. So, pagka ang violation ay under 5 months lang or 6 months below, bumaba. Okay? it will consider as provincial prisoners. Okay? While if it's 3 years and precise, that is city prisoners. Alright. Now, municipal prisoners, those confined to serve an imprisonment of not more than 6 months. Those detained therein whose trial of their cases are pending with... okay, let's correct this one. City prisoners, yan. City prisoners, yan. Those who were sentenced to suffer an imprisonment of less than 3 years or to pay fine of not more than 1,000. That is city prisoners, 3 years. While your provincial prisoners is to suffer the term of imprisonment from 6 months and 1 day to 3 years. O, nagkamali ako ng pagkita. 6 months. Hindi bababa ng 6 months, ngunit hindi rin tataas ng 3 years. So, it can be 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, and etc. That is provincial prisoners. What if bumaba ng 6 months? He will now go under municipal prisoners. Those confined to serve an imprisonment of not more than 6 months. Yan. That is municipal prisoners. Those detained therein whose trials of their cases are pending with the MTC. Municipal prisoners. Provincial prisoners, preliminary investigation of their cases cognizable by the RTC, as well as the city prisoners cognizable by RTC and other preliminary investigation. Now, we have your classification of prisoners according to the degree of custody or degree of dangerousness. Number 1 is maximum, number 2 is minimum, medium, and number 3 is minimum. So maximum tayo, this shall includes highly dangerous or high security risks who required high degree of control. Okay? Their movement are restricted and they are not allowed to work outside the institution but rather assigned to industrial shops within the prison compound. They were orange color in uniform. Maximum security uniform, orange color uniform. They are inside industrial shop of the prison correction or the correctional facility. They are not allowed to go outside. Who are maximum prisoners? Who are maximum security prisoners? Those sentenced to death. That is number 1. Number 2, those whose minimum sentence is 20 years of imprisonment. Remand inmates or detainees whose sentence is 20 years and above, and those whose sentence is under review for the Supreme Court. Okay, those with pending cases as well. Recidivists, habitual delinquent, and escapees, those confined at the RDC, those under disciplinary punishment or safekeeping. Okay, those who are criminally insane or with severe personality disorder or emotional disorder. That is all under maximum security prisoners. Now, we have your medium security. This shall includes those who cannot be trusted in less secured areas and those who conduct or behavior require minimum supervision. They occupy the medium security prison in Camp Sampaguita and they wear blue color of uniforms. So orange ang maximum. Now medium is blue. Medium is blue. Generally, they are employed as agriculture worker in the correctional facility. Who are the medium prisoners? Those whose minimum sentence is less than 20 years, of course. Dun sa maximum, 20 years and above. While the minimum of this is 20 years, less than 20 years. Okay? Remand inmates or detainees whose sentence are below 20 years. Those who are 18 years of age and below regardless of the case and sentence. Those are medium security prisoners. Those who had 2 or more records of escapes, they are classified as medium security if they have served 8 years since they were recommitted. Okay? Those with 1 record of escapes must serve 5 years. So, pag may isang kang record of escape, 5 years. Pag merong dalawa, minimum of 8 years to serve before you go transferred into a medium security. And letter E, first offender sentenced to life imprisonment. They can be classified as medium as well. For example, I am a first offender only. Wala akong maganda yung record ko, so gumawa ako ng crime. And then, my punishment is less than 20 years, and now I am a first time offender, less than 20 years. Ayan, less than 20 years of imprisonment, I can be considered as medium prisoners. Who are the minimum security? This shall includes those who can be reasonably trusted to serve their sentence under less restriction conditions. Okay? They occupy the minimum security prison or the Camp Bukang Liwayway. They were brown color of uniform. Okay? Minimum brown, medium blue, while maximum is orange or tangerine. Yan. Brown color of uniform. Who are the minimum security prisoners? Those with severe physical handicap as certified by the chief medical officer of the prison. Siyempre nga naman, paano ba makatakas ng mabilis to? They have severe handicap. Those who are 65 years of age and above, without pending cases and whose convicted are not on appeal. Those who have served a part or one half of their minimum sentence or 1/3 of their maximum sentence, including the GCTA or the Good Conduct and Time Allowance. Okay? Those who have 6 months more to serve before the expiration of their maximum sentence, they will now be considered as minimum sentence prisoner or security prisoners. Siyempre nga naman, tatakas ka pa ba pagka 6 months na lang? Hindi na, di ba? So, serve it. Diba? So, jails. An institution for the confinement of persons who are awaiting final disposition of their criminal cases, and also for the service of those convicted and punished with shorter sentence, usually up to 3 years. Okay, those are jails. So, pag 3 years and above, correctional facility. Pag 3 years below, jails. Types of jail. We have lock-up jails. Is a security facility for the temporary detention of person held for investigation or awaiting preliminary hearing. That is lock-up jails. It is a security facility for the temporary detention only of person held for investigation. He may be subject, but he is not the criminal, okay? Or awaiting preliminary hearing. This one is maybe the criminal but still awaiting preliminary hearing. May put onto lock-up jails. Next, ordinary jails houses both offenders awaiting court action and those serving short sentence, usually up to 3 years. That is ordinary jail. Next, we have workhouses, jail farms, or camps. Houses minimum custody offenders serving short sentence or those who are undergoing constructive work program. It provides full employees of prisoners, remedial services, and constructive leisure time activities. Next, provincial jails. Provincial jails in the Philippines are not under the jurisdiction of the BUCOR, okay, or Bureau of Correction. They are managed and controlled by the provincial government. Provincial government. This is the exemption, provincial jails. Okay, a person committed to prison or jail is to... A person is committed to prison or jail because to segregate him from society and to rehabilitate him so that upon his return to society, he shall be responsible and law-abiding citizen. Explain ko na yan kanina. So, here comes the admission process. Okay? An inmate shall be admitted in the RDC or the Reception and Diagnostic Center of a prison upon presentation of the following documents. Number 1, we have your mitimus or the commitment order. Now, mitimus or commitment order of the court stated the name, the penal facility where you will serve your sentence, address to the warden. So, yan. Information and court decision in the case as well. Kasama, naka-attach yun kung ano ka, murder or robbers, ganyan. Certificate of detention as well. Certificate that the case of the inmate is not on appeal because you will be serving the sentence. You are sentenced prisoner. You are not appealed. You do not appeal your conviction. Okay? Note, a female inmate shall be received only at the CIW. I told you, my dear student, if an inmate is a female, therefore she will be confined in the the CIW or the correctional institution for women. Okay, kasi lahat na ay lalaki bukod sa correctional institution for women which houses women offenders, women prisoners. So, admission process. After registration, the inmate shall be photographed, front and side view, fingerprinted, and assigned a permanent prison number. ID niya. Parang ganun. The male inmate shall then be given a regulation haircut, and his beard or the mustache, if any, shall be shaved off. Function. It shall receive, study, and classify inmates and detainees committed to the Bureau or RDC. This is a special unit. Okay, this is the Reception and Diagnostic Center definition, or this is the special unit of prison whereby new prisoners undergo diagnostic examination, study, and observation for the purpose of determining the programs of treatment and training best suited to their needs and the institution to which they should be transferred, as well as they have in the RDC, okay, the region Reception Diagnostic Center, they have the quarantine cell or quarantine unit, which will stay certain days for them to be able to quarantine one offender or one prisoner, for them to be able to know if that prisoner is contaminated with some sickness. Yan. Staff member of the RDC and their functions. Ito na. We have psychiatrists responsible in the examination of the prisoner's mental and emotional makeup. We have the psychologist responsible to conduct study on the character and behavior. Psychiatrist sa utak. Psychologist sa behavior. Okay? The sociologist study the social case situation of the individual prisoner. Okay? The educational counselor conducts orientation classes in order to change inmates' attitude toward education and recommends education program for the prisoners. The vocational counselor to test the prisoner's skills, abilities, interests, and skills, and recommends for the vocational courses best suited for the prisoners. We have also chaplain. Encourage the prisoners to participate in religious activities. Okay? What if the only religion that yung masipag, paano masasabihin to? Yung masipag na religion, I mean those religion who are visiting the penal facility or jail is for example only is the Iglesia ni Cristo, okay? Or Katoliko, okay na lang, Katoliko, bumibisita ang Katoliko to evangelize inside prison. Now, those who are not Catholic or those who are Catholic will participate. Those who are not Catholic, makikita nila, makiki-isosyo, di ba? So, ito yung laging bumibisita dito, and I think I need a recreational activity for me to be able to connect with God again. So, nakikita niya, laging may Katoliko doon na nag-evangelize. So, sabi niya, mag-ano na lang ako, lilipat na ako from this religion, magkakatoliko na ako. So, nagkatoliko siya. Okay? Ang tawag doon, inside prison, my dear student, is proselytizing. Okay? Proselytizing. That is changing of religion inside prison. That is proselytizing. Proselytizing. 7. The medical officer. Medical officer conducts physical examination and recommends medical treatment of prisoners. Custodial correctional officer recommends the transfer and type of custody of the inmates if he is a maximum, medium, or minimum. Admission procedure in prison. Receiving. The new prisoner is received at the RDC. Ito na. The new prisoner usually comes from a provincial or city jail where he was immediately committed upon conviction by the court and escorted by the escort platoon during his transfer in the national prison. National prison muna. Checking of commitment papers. The receiving officer checks the commitment papers if they are in order. This is if they contain the signature of the judge or the signature of the clerk of court and a seal of the court. Okay? Establishing identity of the prisoners. The prisoner's identity is established through the picture and the fingerprint appearing in the commitment order. Searching the prisoners. The step involves the frisking of the prisoners and searching his personal things. Items classified as contraband are confiscated and deposited to property custodian. Other properties are deposited with the trust fund officers under recording and receipts. Okay? So, makukuha din naman niya lahat yan pagkalaya niya. Briefing and orientation. The prisoners will be briefed and oriented on the rules and regulation of the prison before he will be assigned to the RDC or the Reception and Diagnostic Center or the quarantine unit where he will be spent 5 days. Inside the Reception and Diagnostic Center, he will go first into the quarantine unit or quarantine cell for 5 days. 5 days. Okay? The quarantine cell or unit, the unit of the prison or section of the RDC where the prisoners is given thorough physical examination including x-rays, blood tests, vaccinations, and immunity. And inmates shall be placed in the quarantine for at least 5 days. Okay? For at least 5 days. After the quarantine period, the inmate shall remain at the RDC for a period not exceeding 55 days. Okay? Where he shall undergo psychiatric, psychological, sociological, vocational, educational, and religious and other examination. Again, after the quarantine period, okay? Ibig sabihin, 5 days siya magi-stay sa quarantine unit or quarantine cell. After 5 days noon, bilang ka ulit ng isa hanggang 55 days or it will not exceed 55 days, maximum of 55 days, where he shall undergo psychiatric, psychological, sociological, vocational, educational, and religious and other examination. So, sabihin natin sagad-sagadan, nag-undergo siya ng 5 days sa quarantine cell, plus nag-undergo siya ng 55 days sa RDC, okay? RDC. That is a total of 60 days for maximum. Hindi tayo agad-agad natin siyang ihahalo kung saan-saan sa classification ng prison settlement. Okay, hindi agad-agad natin siyang ilalagay doon. But he will stay for 5 days in quarantine cell and another 55 days for him to be able to undergo psychiatric, psychological, and etc. A total of maximum of 60 days in RDC. So after that, nakita dito sa quarantine cell that he is good, he is not contagious. And after this 55 days, nakita ng psychologist, sociologist that this type of blah 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 and this type of treatment will be given to this prisoner, and then he will be transferred to whatever prison or settlement he will be put after total of 60 days. Take note. Issuance of uniforms and etc. The newly admitted inmate shall be issued 2 regulation uniforms, suits, and 2 shirts. Where whenever practicable, he shall also be issued the following items. 1, we have his 1 mat, 1 pillow with pillowcase, 1 mosquito net, 1 set mess kit, and 1 pair sleepers. Okay, the inmate shall be held responsible and accountable for the item issued to him. Personal effects of inmate. Okay? In addition to the articles supplied by the prison, the inmate may bring clothes and other items essential to his well-being, provided the quantity, nature, and dimension thereof will not interfere with the safety and living condition of other inmates. Okay? Pwede siyang magdala ng mga gamit niya na damit. Okay? The superintendent may allow the inmate to bring in electrical equipment, likewise television sets, radio cassettes, video player, electric fan, and similar items provided the same is for common use with other inmates. So, pwede namang magdala ng electric fan doon, pwede magdala ng television set, if it is allowed by the superintendent. Superintendent may allow, okay, so discretion pa rin ng superintendent, if you can bring electric fan or electric equipment, video players, or radio cassette. But, again, it should be for common use with other inmates, para sa lahat. In no case shall an inmate be allowed to bring in luxurious items such as aircon, Parang sa New Bilibid Prison yung may naka-jacuzzi pa. Yan. Okay? Carpets, sofas, beds, sleeping mattress, washing machine, and the likes. So, dun sa New Bilibid Prison, nung raid sila, no? Nung nag-Operation Greyhound, nakita nila may jacuzzi, tapos merong ilang parang maximum sizes of flat screen TV. Malalaki. Yan. Dinaig pa. Ginawang palasyo. Alright. Wearing of jewelry. An inmate may not wear any jewelry item. He may, however, be allowed an inexpensive watch. Okay? Yung bawal din yung mamahalin. Pero, pwede sigurong i-allow yung inexpensive watch. However, be allowed an inexpensive watch. O pwede ng watch. CARPETA, institutional record of an inmate which includes the mitimus, commitment order, the prosecutor's information, and the decision of the trial court, including that of the appellate court, other known as the inmate records, or jacket, that is CARPETA. Pag sinabing CARPETA, nandito nakapaloob yung mitimus, commitment or the commitment order, yung prosecutor information, yung court decision, including that appellate court, kung nag-appeal ba to. Okay, tapos hindi niya na in-appeal, kaya nakulong na siya. This is known also as inmate record, or known also as jacket. The treatment program. The Philippine prison system adopted two approach in treating criminal offender. These are first institution-based, sinabi ko na sa inyo, inside prison or jails, and the community-based treatment programs, which is provided that they have officer or yung meron silang monitoring officer na chine-check sila. Okay? That is community-based. The institutional treatment program is prison education, the cornerstone of rehabilitation, or the prison education is the cornerstone of rehabilitation. It is the process of result of formal training in school or classroom intended to shape the mind and attitude of prisoners towards good living upon their release. Balik nga muna tayo dito sa institutional-based treatment and the community-based treatment. Institutional-based treatment is your correctional institution, while the community-based treatment is your non-institutional correction. Okay? So, mapag-aaralan nyo tong community-based treatment later on to the following semester maybe. But this institutional correction is your institutional-based treatment. So, we will be focusing in this institutional-based treatment the whole semester. But, the community-based treatment is your another subject under correctional institution. Next, institutional treatment. Yan, we go back to prison education. The cornerstone of rehabilitation. It is the process of result of formal training in school or classroom intended to shape the mind and attitude of prisoners towards good living upon their release. Okay. Classes of prison education. We have general and academic education. We have vocational education. And we have physical education. So, work program, it is purposely to eliminate idleness on the part of prisoners, which may contribute to prison stupor, and it affects the incidence of prison riot. So, bakit may work programs? Kasi para ma-rehab yung ating mga prisoners as well as to give them a time of something recreational or something to do for us to be able to eliminate prison stupor, yung pagkabagot. Okay, that's why we have work programs. Kasi kung pagkabagot, maiinitin yung ulo nila, mainit pa naman sa loob ng prison. That's why it will increase the chance to have riot. Religious service in prison. Okay, the purpose of this program is to change the attitude of the inmates by inculcating religious values or beliefs. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, pag an inmate or prisoners changes his or her religion inside prison, that is proselytizing. Recreational program, medical and health services, counseling, and casework. So, that is the second part of your lecture in institutional correction.